In this week's tech news, we talk about what Pornhub is begging big tech companies to do, what the loss of Meta's chief AI scientist says about the path forward for artificial intelligence, why you shouldn't use Perplexity's AI browser, at least that's what one company says, and Grok's newest fantasies about Elon Musk. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe, which really helps the show, and thank you so much for your support. Now on to the news.
In some big news that I can't imagine is making Mark Zuckerberg happy, which in and of itself kind of makes me happy, Meta's longtime chief AI scientist, Yann LeCun, who is seen as one of the godfathers of AI, will be leaving Meta later this year to create a startup focused on AI systems that can better understand and interact with the physical world, a startup, in his own words, to bring about the next big revolution in AI.
This is going to be very interesting. And I do want to say that I follow Jan on social media, and he is talking about his departure a lot. So you can dig into some of the reasons why he is leaving. And wanted to say that he's been very open about this. In fact, here is a quote from him. LLMs are great. They're useful. We should invest in them. A lot of people are going to use them, but they are not a path to human level intelligence. They're just not. Right now, they are sucking the air out of the room anywhere they go. And so there's basically no resources left for anything else.
Yeah, I kind of love that. And as we talked about in our presentation we did here in Halifax, Amber, just last week, large language models like those used for ChatGPT, Gemini, and the other chatbots are not going to lead to artificial general intelligence. So it's great to hear someone in a position of power refocusing the conversation on some broader applications. So Jan's startup, I imagine, is going to likely focus more on inputs from visual information, closer to what humans use to navigate the real world. And this could lead to some really important advances relative to robots and more. So I'm really excited to see what happens next with that.
And one of the things that we are also seeing when it comes to AI chatbots is that we're seeing them embedded into web browsers. There has been news over the past few months about ChatGPT's Atlas, Microsoft Edge with Copilot, and it looks like Perplexity's new Comet AI browser, which just became free a few months ago, does have some pretty serious security issues, namely that it has a hidden API that can let cyber criminals execute local commands and take over the user's device completely. The company that did discover this exploit, SquareX, nothing to do with Elon Musk, says that the shabby treatment of security by Perplexity's browser, and I'm quoting here, reverses the clock on decades of browser security principles established by vendors like Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. Now, that is not good news at all. And I do want to say this is still an evolving story, and Perplexity denies that there are issues, but it did actually patch the issue, which to me seems like an admission that there was an issue.
So they patched the issue that didn't exist. That does sound like some 21st century tech PR right there. But speaking of insecure AI, or in this case, maybe just AI designed in the image of an insecure tech bro, Elon Musk's Grok chatbot, which has previously referred to itself as Mecha Hitler and complained about white genocide, has recently been exhibiting some fairly deranged behavior on X in terms of its incredible admiration for its creator, Elon Musk.
Now, for better or for worse, most of Grok posts in question have now been deleted, but they included saying some really outrageous things. So one of those things was that Musk is more physically fit than basketball star LeBron James, which of course is untrue, that Elon Musk could beat Mike Tyson in a boxing match, that Musk was funnier than Jerry Seinfeld, and even that Musk could have figured out how to come back from the dead faster than Jesus, who took a whole 3 days.
Lazy Jesus taking 3 days to come back from the dead, eh? We are living in some incredibly strange times, and Grok certainly plays its role in making them even stranger. And I'd find the whole thing a lot more entertaining if Grok weren't being rolled out across the U.S. government as we speak, including through a $200 million contract with the U.S. Department of Defense. What could possibly go wrong with Grok and the Department of Defense? Anyway, if you're getting tired of ever-increasing amounts of AI, it at least looks like TikTok is taking some baby steps towards letting you control how much slop you see in its app.
Yeah, that is good news. Now, we have covered Pinterest doing this recently, and it looks like TikTok users will now be able to, after the testing is completed, to go into content preferences in their settings And under managed topics, they'll be able to set whether they'd like to see more or less AI generated content in their feed. I don't know why you would want to see more. I had to look that one up. They'll have a setting for the zero people who I think it's fair to say do want more of that AI slop. And choosing less won't eliminate that AI slop altogether, but it's supposed to reduce how often you do see it. So that will be interesting to watch as that does roll out on TikTok.
Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. I've recently I put on Pinterest's changes for that for detecting AI when it came out. I think it's been helping, but there certainly is some AI slop still in the stream, no doubt. So we'll see what TikTok manages to do. Maybe it's an improvement, and it's like you said, at least a step in the right direction. And on the topic of the value or negligible value of AI slop, Canada's CRTC, the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, has just updated its definition of what counts as Canadian content so that it specifically excludes AI from the consideration.
Now, some people may not know exactly what this all means and why it's important. So, for anyone not familiar with this, Canadian content or CanCon is a requirement that Canada adopted in the early 1970s in an effort to protect our cultural industries from being drowned out by our big American neighbor to the south. And it dictates that a certain amount of broadcast radio and television and now online streaming content has to be from Canadian creators. This is based on a point system related to the number of Canadians playing key roles in the content creation. And so, what the CRTC is basically saying is that human beings have to occupy these roles for them to count. Now, Jeff, years ago, I did a show with Leo Laporte, Call for Help. That was an example of a CanCon play, if we can call it that, because it was the network, G4 Tech TV, that had a lot of American content, and we were actually the Canadian content on that channel. And so I think this is actually a move in the right direction in terms of making sure that humans are at the center of this content creation.
Yeah, absolutely. CanCon's already weird enough without trying to figure out how AI should be incorporated into it. So just saying don't come to us claiming that your AI is Canadian. I think that's fair enough for now. Obviously, all this stuff is evolving all the time, so maybe that'll change in the future. But at least they've got something inside their, specification that accounts for AI, which is absolutely essential in the world we live in today. And staying in Canada, or at least kind of staying in Canada, it looks like the world's most visited porn site, Canada's Pornhub, is having a bit of a hard time, no pun intended. It says that traffic is down 77% in the UK since age verification came into law there this year in July. And it's also seeing major traffic losses in US states where age checks have also come into law. And I think that's 25 states so far have laws around identification, ID verification online now. And as well as other jurisdictions around the world that are taking similar message.
This is not really, I think, a big surprise. I think many of us could have predicted that this would happen. There are a lot of people who are reluctant to share their personal information with a porn site. In any case, Pornhub has come up with what it claims to be a better solution. It has sent letters to major device makers, including Apple, Google, and Microsoft, asking them to implement device based age verification. Jeff, you covered this in the other Mac a while ago in terms of some of the issues with age verification. What do you think about this proposal to actually put the responsibility on these tech companies who make the hardware?
Well, age verification is definitely more complicated than you'd expect. And it's, you get politicians saying we're going to do this without, understanding how it would be implemented. And so I get that they're grappling with this. I don't think it's even that bad an idea what they're proposing. There are so many dangers online for young people, and not just porn. I did the other Max segment just last week was on online sports betting, and that is affecting young people in ways that it's just not acceptable at all. So making age verification device based is at least intriguing, and I think there'd be a lot of other applications where it could be used for. So that may have some merit. But the guys running the eighth most visited website in the world, at least in August 2025, those are the numbers. They're not dumb. This request obviously passes the burden from Pornhub. to the big tech companies who are going to have to collect that data from users and deal with all the complications around that. And, it also protects Pornhub from liability for underage users on its site. So I'm not really sure how that'll go, but once again, we'll have to wait and see. Tech moves fast. So I'm not sure what anyone's going to reply to that in terms of the big tech companies, but I, in their place, would certainly be a little bit reluctant to take on that burden.
Well, Jeff, only time will tell on that one. Coming up next, we have an in-depth interview with Don Tapscott, the father of the digital economy. But before we go, please do make sure to hit like and subscribe and let us know in the comments what you think about this week's tech news. Thanks so much for watching, and get the show wherever you get your podcasts.